What is up, YouTube? Just finished installing a new washing machine in my basement. Perfect place to start this video. This video is another fabrications video about a new rail I made. But this one's different, and this one's going to be a lot more in-depth look on what I actually did. Now, I'm not smart enough to do voiceover, so what I'm actually going to be doing is just jumping wherever I happen to be in my house or outside and talking about what I'm doing after I show it. Or before I show it, however I decide to do this. I'll explain in a second. But it is just this awesome, cool rail, and it looks like this. Okay, so you guys seen the rail now. The highlights of the rail is this one is adjustable height. Do I really need that? No, but cool to make. So I've never made something with an adjustable height. If you've noticed in these fabrication videos, I've been upping my game each time and, you know, just having a bunch of fun doing it. So the first thing I started with doing was first I had to cut down my metal. Okay, so you guys seen the rail now. The highlights of the rail is this one is adjustable height. Do I really need that? No, but cool to make. So I've never made something with an adjustable height. If you've noticed in these fabrication videos, I've been upping my game each time and, you know, just having a bunch of fun doing it. So the first thing I started with doing was first I had to cut down my metal. So if you notice on my cut sheet, there are some measurements. Those ended up not being like the perfect final measurements, and I'll explain that more towards the end of the video. But pretty much I did cut everything with a little bit of extra, assuming I would have to grind it off to make it flat for the most part. So next step was to take the square bar, which is 1/2-inch square tubing, and then drill a couple holes in it. So that's what we did next. I also used a pilot bit and then a step bit to make the holes bigger. You absolutely could just go up in size and use just, you know, not a step bit, but that was the easiest, fastest way for me to do it. So once all the holes were drilled, then we moved on to the mock-up. So I wanted to make sure, of course, everything fits. So what I did was I made some quick pins that I ended up not using in the end because I didn't like how they worked. But I grabbed some quick pins and then I used some 90-degree magnets used for welding fabrication and stood it up at its highest height so I knew my holes would line up. And then I got to welding. Once everything was welded up, it was time for grinding, which I'm not going to show a ton of grinding because there was a ton to do since a lot of this did get welded together. But I ground it all down, and then I actually finished this all in one single day, like all of these steps. But after that, I picked up another set of pins, and I actually was able to start on a different project, which is not going to be as in-depth. Pretty much I made a fingerboard rail for my coworker's stepson, who's really into fingerboarding, and I actually gave him a handboard and he loves the thing. So I made him a fingerboard rail, and after all the grinding and all that stuff was done also, it was on to paint, which there's a story behind the paint. So the stepson, he didn't know he was getting a rail, but he was asked what color, if he was going to get a gift, what he would want it to be, and he chose orange. Funny enough, that's one of the only spray paint colors I didn't have, but I also wanted a lime green, so it was all good. I went out and I bought 2 cans of spray paint, and the next day after making these all in one day, I just had to start on the paint. So that would mean I would have all day to paint it, day 2, and then let that dry, and then day 3, everything's done. Awesome. But we ended up hiring a little while ago a junkie, and while my opinion is valued a lot on the guys we hire, I don't get final say. So we actually rehired him back after rehab, and things went south pretty quickly. And in one day, he managed to ruin the feet on the black paint on the feet on mine by scratching them with a wire wheel. And then he ended up touching my wet paint on the rails themselves, I believe 3 separate times. And what ended up happening was I tried to paint over my wet paint, and if you don't have your time frames lined up, then your paint really won't become hard. It won't stick. And that's what happened. So I actually had to strip down the fingerboard rail and paint it again throughout the next day or two. My rail I kind of just let go, and that's why if you look at that particular rail, you'll see more paint flaking off than any of my other rails, and it is a big bummer, and it was something that really made me mad. But this stuff happens. So I'm going to show the rail now, and we're going to quickly run through everything that was done again, but giving you guys more of a visual of how it turned out. So the old washing machine in my yard will make a perfect table to talk about this. So first we will start with, this is a hollow pipe, but remember, I welded those caps in the ends. And like I said, it is just a visual appeal thing. Then the top of it got painted green, the 2 bottom parts got painted black, and they are completely 2 separate parts, and they separate using what's called a clevis pin. So, one hand. So this is the same as this, and these got welded together on both sides, and then these are their own little thing. And if you notice, there are 3 holes in it. This is the highest setting. This is the second setting I did, which is an 1.5 inch difference. And I ended up drilling this hole because when it sat in its bottom setting, if you didn't pin it, the feet rotated too much. Now, this rail does work, and it works very well. The only thing that does suck is even with the pins in, the feet do move a decent bit. So if I was going to remake this again, I would probably use thicker feet for this, because the only thing I notice is this does slide a decent bit, and I do put foam on the bottom of all of my rails, and it does slide a little bit. So if I used heavier feet, maybe 1/4 inch material, then it probably would have worked out better. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. The next fabrications video is going to be the opposite. Less showing of the making, more of the session. So I hope you guys did enjoy this, and as always, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Have a great day, guys. Keep pushing forward.